Welcome to Decades of Horror, the 1980s.
I wonder who the real cannibals are.
This is episode 176, recorded March 3rd, 2021.
Gruesome Magazine.
I am your host, Jeff Mohr, and this podcast is about horror films released between 1980 and 1989. Each episode, my co-hosts Bill Mulligan, Crystal Cleveland, and Chad Hunt, and I will tackle another classic or not so classic film from this radical, gory, influential, and gruesome decade. Joining me tonight is Crystal Cleveland, the living dead girl, and co-host of the Gruesome Magazine podcast, Crystal.
What's that?
I'm sorry, I'm being silly.
You're just getting so into it that that line was really funny. I mean, obviously, I know who the real cannibals are, and then you're just gruesome. I'm like, who are you?
Tony the Tiger or something.
What did you do with Jeff? Is this like, are we actually doing Invasion of the Body Snatchers?
Don't say that. Do not say that. That's my two big fears: being locked up in an insane asylum and can't get out, and everybody around me turns into somebody else.
No, you're saying this in front of Bill, right?
Yeah.
I'm saying it in front of a lot more people than that.
yeah, but everybody else probably won't rag you about it.
The two are kind of connected too, because if you keep telling people that everyone around you has changed, you're going to end up locked up in a loony bin. So be careful.
That's right. True. That's right. Well, the line from the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers, when Miles says, "I'd hate to wake up some morning and find out you weren't you," or something like that. And that's like, I don't know. That just gives me the chills. Okay. So are you okay, Crystal? Are you doing good?
I'm great.
Good?
I'm great.
Okay.
I'm excited. I'm actually really excited about tonight. I think I'm like the only person who doesn't understand why this movie is such a big deal, but
Aminals. Well, lots of stuff. I mean,
lots of stuff.
Also joining us is Chad Hunt, comic book artist and co-host of Decades of Horror, the classic era, and Decades of Horror, the 1970s, and director and producer for Three Havoc Productions.
Yes.
How are you, Chad?
I am hungry to get this podcast started.
Looking for some chicken.
Uh-oh.
Chicky bok bok.
Chicken licking.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a tagline for this movie, I think.
Yeah.
Eat more chicken?
I
Probably.
saw it on a billboard somewhere.
It's not, yeah. It's about the only animal we don't see eaten. Also,
yeah, that's right.
Last but not least is Bill Mulligan, writer, director, and special effects guru and co-host of Decades of Horror, the 1970s. How you doing, Bill?
I have a cat. He just hurt. Okay. I'm doing great. I'm doing great.
I always think when that tail first shows up, I always think your hands down below going, flapping a fan.
Yeah, I've got
I always picture a cabana boy off to the side, fan and Bill.
Even better.
Oh, wow.
That's just me. I don't know.
Oh, cabana boy. Here, everybody. Here's the cabana boy. Hey there.
Oh.
All right, I know.
All right.
I'm doing great, and this film is my fault, so I get the blame or the credit depending on the viewer's state of mind.
Letters go to.
Listen, what? Influential, gruesome, gory,
radical.
Radical. This one checks off all the boxes.
It does. Absolutely. You know what? It does. We need to put our films where our taglines are, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. Let's take a look at this. Our topic this episode is Cannibal Holocaust. Yes. Cannibal Holocaust. We said it. Directed by Ruggero, Deodato, written by Gianfranco Clerici, story and screenplay, and Giorgio Stegani. Additional dialogue for the Italian version. Cast includes Robert Kerman, Francesca Ciardi, Perry Pirkanen, Luca Barbareschi, Carl Gabriel Yorke, and Salvatore Basile. Release dates: February 7th, 1980 in Italy, and June 14th, 1985 in the U.S. Just a limited release. I wonder why. Filming dates were June 4th to July 28th, 1979. And it was shot
the longest 2 months of their lives shooting this film.
Yes, no doubt. Well, some of the things the actor said later on was like, oh my God. All right, shot in Colombia, Venezuela, United States, and Italy. I've got another little piece here. Well, first let's so that's one of the really common posters we see. And it's got a little tagline on here. They eat and they are eaten. Yes. Yeah.
You can't look at that poster, go see the movie, and then complain. I did not expect this. That's just about as
right.
gratuitous.
Or the poster is misleading, right?
Yeah. I was expecting an art film.
Okay, a little more information. This is interesting. I thought the budget is estimated at $100,000. The box office.
Okay.
So we'll get in detail about this later, but it brought in $1.9 million in Italy in the first 10 days.
Wow.
Before it was banned, pulled from the theaters. In 1983, it was second at the box office in Japan to E.T.'s number one.
Oh, I hope they had a double feature with the two of them.
Yeah. Oh, that's like the one they had in Australia recently. I forget what it was. But anyway, and there are estimates, although they have never been verified, that it has made $200 million worldwide, which is not hard to believe over 40 years if you include all the different releases and the DVDs and the Blu-rays and all that stuff.
It's a hell of a return on a $100,000 investment.
It is. I wonder how much they actually got of that.
Probably the 1.9 million they got before they got banned was all they paid for.
So the synopsis, just so people know what we're talking about if they haven't seen this, and I wouldn't be surprised if you haven't, but Harold Monroe, an anthropologist from New York University, leads a rescue team into the Amazon rainforest to locate a crew of filmmakers. The crew had gone missing while filming a documentary on local cannibal tribes. When the rescue team is only able to recover the crew's lost cans of film, an American television station wishes to broadcast the footage as a sensationalized television special. Upon viewing the reels, Monroe is appalled by the team's actions and objects to the station's intent to air the documentary. And this is another poster, which is after a particularly gruesome scene.
Yeah.
All right.
I like how that poster emphasizes the music.
Yeah. Well, and actually, the music is interesting.
The music's one of the most brilliant parts of the movie, I think.
Yeah.
We'll talk about
that. Let's go to what do we have? Well, the production company is FD Cinematographica. Also known as, and Bill actually has a poster of this I'll show later, but I love this. Almost all of the AKAs were just translations of Cannibal Holocaust. But in Germany,
Germany.
we get Nackt und zerfleischt, which is naked and mangled.
Oh, that would be so much better. That'd be such a better TV show than
isn't that like real? Yeah.
Naked and mangled.
It is. And now, since this is kind of a touchy subject, we're going to spend the rest of the time doing taglines.
Yeah,
there's
we have
40 of them.
Time, yeah.
One of the first ones was "Welcome to the Jungle." Okay,
I love that one.
That's pretty good.
And the German version of that is "Wo der Dschungel zur Hölle wird." Where the jungle becomes hell.
All right. Can I do the next three?
You can. So I kind of grouped these because I saw a definite.
There's so many,
definite topics here. So these are one-word exclamation overkill times 3.
Okay, we have cruel, barbaric, authentic, savage, exciting, true.
No. Debate.
Rip out, barbecue, devour. How long can you take it? Okay, I don't really get that one. Rip out,
No.
barbecue, devour. How long can
Maybe
you?
more like
I don't
cut
know.
off.
They had some of it on a spit. I was wondering about the barbecue,
Barbecue.
Yeah, they
How long
basically
can you
ate
take
stuff
it?
raw. So
Is that New York style barbecue or Carolina style barbecue? Because if I'm going
I
to be
know.
eating someone, I want a
I think it's more like
ketchup-based barbecue.
tartar.
Or Texas,
Ooh,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, I think you're right. With a dry rub, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Is it? These I thought were kind of like, is it real or Memorex? And this first one I just absolutely love. Chad, are you on track here?
Yeah.
Okay.
You won't believe that what you're seeing could have happened.
Okay.
That could have happened.
It's true for most movies.
I love it.
I was
I
gonna
don't believe it.
Might happen. We're not saying. We're not committing.
Sure.
Right. The
Okay.
men you will see eaten alive are the same who filmed these incredible sequences. That's such a lie! In the
Or
really
is
real
it?
world,
Really, really world.
in
It could have happened.
1979, 4 documentary filmmakers disappeared in the jungles of South America while shooting a film about cannibalism. 6 months later, their footage was found.
Boy, that sounds a lot like
That's
Blair
a
Witch, doesn't it?
synopsis. Like
Doesn't
that's
it,
not
though?
even.
It is.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is.
Don't it though?
And then there's about a dozen taglines that I've called "Excess is never enough." It's the most controversial movie of all time, the most savage and brutal film in modern history, the one that goes all the way, the most controversial movie ever made. Can a movie go too far? The film they did not want you to see. This is not an imitation. This is the original, the one that goes all the way.
What?
The most grueling film ever made. The mother of all cannibal films.
Fair enough.
And father.
And then the sort of the picture this, in other words, the kind of gross out ones. Crystal, you want to do those? Can you?
Oh,
I don't know if you can see those or
yeah,
not.
yeah. I can totally be there right now.
Yeah.
I am totally. I
He's
watch
building
y'all.
suspense.
I would totally watch y'all. You know, I'm just like, okay, are we doing the picture this?
Yes.
Is that where we're at? Okay. They eat and they are eaten. Better to rest in peace in the warm body of a friend than in the cold ground. Don't turn away.
I'm okay with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that one too. Don't turn away. Look at it. These are men. Men like you.
I disagree.
Those who
Yeah.
filmed it. I know. See, that's my biggest problem with this movie too. I'm like ridiculous. Okay, those who filmed it were devoured alive by cannibals. Nom 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 nom.
Okay. And now, I mean, I'd never seen that many taglines before, and it was like, how many
No.
different ways can you see the most, the worst, the grueling, the best, and blah,
Goes
blah,
all the way. Like
It is an
Yeah.
inspirational film,
goes
clearly.
all the way. All right, so we've got to do this just for people that are watching and don't know what they may be for. You know, they stumble across this on YouTube or
Oh,
iTunes or something. So
you'll be stumbling
we've got
out
to
of there,
give
too.
them ample warning here.
Yeah.
So these are the warnings that you get if you watch the film. The very first one is on the box. If you go to open the box, due to its shocking and violent subject matter, no one under 17 should view this film.
I agree.
Deodato had this one put in. For the sake of authenticity, some sequences have been retained in their entirety. I don't know what that means, but okay.
It's to make you think, well, we accidentally
Is it real?
stumbled across some really creepy
Yeah.
stuff and we decided to keep it in there because we were thinking of you. But okay.
Yeah. And now it is currently streaming on Shudder. And they added this. The titles deemed extreme come shrouded in ultra graphic content, controversy, and in certain cases, legal dispute. They can be as intense and vivid as they can be culturally and cinematically significant. Shudder is proud to present these transgressive, boundary-pushing, sometimes banned, and totally rad films in their most complete form. For the squeamish, discretion is advised.
That's actually pretty brilliant. I mean, that if you can like read that and say, "No, I best not watch that." I mean, you're not a few horror fans can turn that down. I mean, especially in these days.
I agree with that.
Dr.
It's like, wait,
Seuss
I gotta see this right now.
Is on the chopping block. I mean, he's like, oh my God, what must this be? This film has become, I think the reason it may have made $200 million is that it's become almost a rite of passage. Like, you have to watch this film to be a true horror fan. And let me just say right off the bat, although I think this is, I would call it essential viewing for horror fans, that doesn't mean it is essential that you view it. There's a lot of people who should not watch this. It might even be most people. Right. I have a very complicated relationship with this film, and no one should ever be judged for either liking it, watching it, or just saying, you know what, I think I know enough about this that I'm never going to watch it. I feel that way about a Serbian film. That's a film I will never watch. I hear it's brilliant. I hear it's really well made, and I don't doubt that. But I know too much about it to enjoy it.
So much worse than this. Yeah, so much worse than this.
It is.
Even though that's it's just weird.
Even though that's totally fictional and there's parts of this that are not. So, but
let's go with first impressions and just in general. What do you want to say, Bill?
Oh, you're starting with me, yeah.
It's your pick.
It's my pick. So my relationship with this film is like being in love with a hateful woman. That's it. It's yeah. Your friends are looking at you funny. Everyone knows you're making a horrible mistake, but there's something compelling. I don't like this film. I don't admire aspects of this film. There's a lot about this that I really despise, but I think it's brilliant and it's a masterpiece. And there's parts of me that love this. It's so manipulative. I heard about it from a writer named Chaz Ballin, the late Chaz Ballin, who I think he lived in Albany. He went to a lot of the Albany cons when I was going to grad school there. And he wrote a series of books about Fulci and extreme horror. And he raved about this. I think he was writing in Gore Zone or Fangoria, and that this was the ultimate cannibal film and described it really well. So it was one of those holy grails. It used to be hard to believe now. It used to be hard to find. You know, and I think I stumbled across at my beloved Mafia-owned video store a clearly gray market copy of this, and took it home and watched it, and watched it alone, and it was the gut punch. You know, most things don't live up to the hype, and this one more than lived up to it. And I've pushed this on people, and you know, honestly, watching it this time, I really had the feeling at some point I was thinking, you know, I think this might be the last time I ever watch this, which may or may not turn out to be true, but I think I've squeezed all the enjoyment I can out of it at this point. But I still say this is one of the most transgressive, brilliant, and super influential. This is the thing that created the found footage movie. I mean, it's literally a movie about found footage, and yet, even though it's the first one to do it, I think the structure of this is so brilliant. The idea, the first half of this movie is just a fictional jungle cannibal movie. And then the second half, we're into the found footage stuff. We've been set up. It's been violent, but not any more violent than a lot of movies of the time. Certainly not as violent as the cannibal movie, the zombie movies. So you're kind of set up. And then this all happens, and you're just blown away. It's just every time the animal stuff is indefensible, but it's what makes this movie still talked about today. Because after watching that turtle, did you ever have any idea what the inside of a turtle looked like? I mean, I knew it wasn't pretty.
Nope.
It wasn't like a package or something from Santa Claus, but I couldn't make heads or tails out of what was going on there. It's like, how many organs do turtles have? You're looking at this and you're like, well, this is not fake. This is clearly 100% real. So all bets are off. And then when you come across some of the other scenes, the impalement and everything, you want to believe that it's faked. But there's a part of your brain that at this point is set up saying, I've been watching real killings. I know what real looks like, and I'm not so sure I'm not still watching it. So this movie's brilliant. The filmmaker never made anything nearly as amazing as this again. But again, there's a lot of folks who should not watch this movie. They will not get any enjoyment out of it. You have to be of a certain frame of mind. You have to accept certain things. And but if you can, there's nothing like this film, which is probably a good thing. It killed the genre. This movie killed the cannibal genre, because what more could you do? What really more could you do after this one? It would just seem like the genre was already pretty limited in what the stories were about, and this one is like just the period at the end of the sentence. They don't need to make any more.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I have a complicated relationship with this film.
All right. Well, we're just going to go down the row here. So, Mr. Eat, you're muted. When did
I
you
am no
first
longer
see this?
muted. I saw this. Bill brought up Rite of Passage earlier, and that's how I saw it. A buddy of mine had the grayest of gray market copies of this film. And I've always been a monster kid, supernatural stuff, ghosts. I've never been a fan of, I guess what they call today torture porn type movies, where it's just blood and gore for the sake of being bloody and gory and cruel, I guess is the word. It always had to have some element of fantasy in it, and for me to really enjoy it. So, but I know at the same time, a lot of my friends were gore hounds, and they, and that read Gore Zone magazine, and I'm very familiar with Chaz Balin's stuff. I used to read a lot of his books he put out, and all his articles he wrote. So I'm very aware of the gore hound genre, but it was never my thing. So when I watched this, I can't remember how old I was. I wasn't very old yet, but this movie frightened the shit out of me. Not in a good way. I mean, because growing up on a farm, I've seen animals seen animals killed, and I've seen animals, so I knew that was real. And like Bill said, that reality of that made you kind of think, is this other stuff real too? Even though you knew in your mind you weren't seeing it, it's still somewhere in the deep pits of this noggin right here. I was like, oh, it was tough to watch at such an early age. I don't think I was even 15 yet, or maybe 16 years old. And I'd seen some horrible stuff, before that, Faces of Death and all those kind of movies, which you kind of knew those were kind of put on and whatever. But watching this really, really affected me, and I swore I would never watch it again, and I never did until we watched it for this for the podcast. But now I understand the importance of this film, and I understand the influence it had on other filmmakers, and I now understand why it's so popular and why it's an important film too. Whether you like it or not, it's an important film in the horror genre, because it was doing things that had not been done up to that point. And so as much as I dislike the subject matter of the film, I can still appreciate what it is and what it, how and I know this film has its fans and its followers, and that's cool with me. I understand why, but for me, it's just one of those films that I just cannot. It's hard for me to watch still, but I understand why it's an important film. So that's kind of where I am on it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree with that combination of obviously the animal killings and butchering are real, and so when you pair that with the other stuff, sometimes it carries a little more weight, because you've got that feeling already. Crystal, what say you? I'm so interested in your comments.
Oh, like we don't know already.
Do you?
I don't know.
I think I do. I think I do.
So, when I watched this movie as a kid, but I will tell you this. When I watched, so one of my brothers used to just get me all these movies. This is how I became a horror lover. This is how I watched all the horror movies when I would go to stay with my brother. They were older, and he would just get me all these movies, and that's all I watched all day, every day is horror when I was a kid. That's really all I loved. I will tell you this. I did not know that the animal killings were real when I watched this movie.
Really?
It wasn't, I had no idea. I mean, when you're young, you just kind of assume everything is fake. Because he didn't tell me, and I didn't know, and I just kind of watched stuff. So that part was lost on me when I watched it as a kid. It scared me in different ways. It scared me enough to know that I was never going to go into a jungle. Ever, as a woman. I was like, this is never going to happen. But that's really all that scared me. I think I do remember thinking the gore was pretty graphic. Now, okay, so I think the movie is actually really quite silly. I think the concept is silly. I think the movie is silly. I think, yes, I'm a huge animal lover. I am a huge animal lover. Actually, the hardest part for me is not that they killed the monkey, because, he did say that they used all the animals for food, and that does make it easier for me to deal with. But what bothers me more is that he was kicking this pig before he shot it and stuff. I don't believe in like the torture kind of stuff. Really bothers me. But I think no one can justify this film, but you can put it into context. And so I can kind of separate that from now. I mean, thankfully today this would not happen, you know. So that's great, So I guess in my way too, I'm like, well, it happened, and it's there. And if you're a horror movie lover, I think it's one of those movies that you should kind of watch to see, what was being made, where some of it came from, because the gore is fabulous. Oh my gosh. I think there are points of this movie where I am just like, that is amazing looking. For that time, that I think some of it just looks fabulous. I mean, it looks so good. It was very creative. It was very well done. It's just that the story is so silly. Here you have these people that go into the jungle, and what happened to these guys? They went off the rails like that. They're crazy. Those men went crazy, and that's just so silly. They're like torching. I just think it's so. I think that's what kills me the most about the movie. I think it would have been. I think at the end, I guess it helps you kind of watch what happens to them, because honestly, they deserved it.
Oh, absolutely.
Really. You're like, oh well, yeah, and the penis chopping off.
Yikes.
Sorry, it's so funny. It's so funny. I'm sorry,
women
guys.
always laugh at that.
Yeah, you don't see us laughing.
Anytime a penis gets chopped off, women just think that's hilarious.
Oh man.
Well, I was just like, damn.
I want to keep my penis. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm kind of
well,
attached
then
to
I
it.
guess then you don't go raping a poor
That's why I don't do that kind of
girl.
stuff.
That's definitely a disincentive.
But yeah, it's I get how people could be triggered by this, could be bothered by this.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's a lot to it. Honestly, frankly, if that girl, because if you watch the Joe Bob version, if that girl is really 14, that I have a real problem with. And that actually changes things for me. I'm like, wait,
You're
that's
talking about
basically
the girl on the stake.
Yeah.
Yes, and she was also the rape victim. He said that, like, the rape victim, and then
And that's a pretty graphic scene.
Yeah, that's child pornography.
Well,
Much.
the first scene you're talking about when the guy was taking the rock, right?
No. When they gang rape the girl.
When they gang rape the girl, and then they impaled her.
Right.
And then she's found. Apparently, she's impaled by her tribe for being raped. And
Gotcha.
Crazy, but yeah. Listen, so I saw this film a long time ago, and then they were showing it at the Carolina Theater. I forget what the double feature was. I think it might have been like Suspiria or something crazy.
Bambi.
And oh my god! so they come out. They show the first movie. I had a good crowd there. And they came out, and the guy said, "How many people here have never seen Cannibal Holocaust?" And about half the audience applauded. And this was amazing, the other half of the audience, including me, gave the meanest laugh I have ever heard in my life. It was like, and they're like, and everyone who was clapping was like, "Wow, what's so funny?" You're like,
you know.
Yeah, and it was interesting watching it on the big screen. But I think one thing, and this had never, I was watching this with Paul Cardullo and Alan Watkins, and I turned to Paul at one point and I said to him, I didn't remember how rapey this film was. I guess I was just so blown away by the gore and the animal stuff and everything that it kind of glossed over the sexual sadism in this movie is really relentless. And that's sort of the thing you notice the second time around. Every time I watch this film, I notice things maybe I hadn't seen, and not necessarily making it any more of an enjoyable experience. But yeah.
Well, what I found fascinating too is here you have this other group of white people come into this camp, this tribe. I just can't believe they didn't just kill him right away. I mean,
After their first experience,
it's
right.
You know, the story, because he gets the footage. You know, I mean, like, and then of course we never see him leave. But it's kind of jarring if you don't really pay attention, because you're like, what's happening? What's going on? But yeah, I used to really like cannibal movies. I don't have a problem with them. I don't have a problem with these types of movies. Like I said, with the animal killings when I was young, I didn't realize that it was real. I mean, I didn't know. I was like, oh, okay.
I'm sure they could have faked it, but it was just cheaper to just kill the animals.
Yes. And unfortunately, I try to look at it from, okay, if, you know, they're using all the body parts, if they're eating it, and then if it's a quick kill, I think it's absolutely sad and stuff, but I know it does happen, and it is not completely out of the realm of what really happens. I mean, it kills me that some of these tribes actually eat the brains and stuff like that, because you think of all the diseases and stuff that you could get.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, but
no, you're like absolutely right.
I just contextualize it.
I mean, I know my chicken salad did not come from a chicken who died on his deathbed, surrounded by his family, holding his wings and everything as he passed into the light. I get that. So but here's the thing.
And see, that's it. It's I do think if you're eating meat, then I think you are kind of a hypocrite. If it's a quick kill, it's no different from an animal being at the slaughterhouse.
Yeah. I want to say something, and you're all going to think I'm crazy because I said this to someone else and they looked at me clearly like they thought I was crazy. And I don't explain this morality. I would step on a cockroach for free. If a cockroach was crawling on the floor toward me right now, I would excuse myself and stomp the crap out of them. But if someone offered me $100 to step on a cockroach, I would not do it. Now, I don't know how, I don't feel that makes me a better person or anything, because there's no logic to that morality. There's something about the fact that these animals were killed for a movie.
For entertainment, yes.
If you told me that the natives ate turtles, I'd be like, well, of course they do. Those turtles are big. You could feed a whole family of 4 on that one turtle. Of course they kill it. And you got to cut it out of the shell, and it's gushy and nasty. I would not lose a wink of sleep over it. The fact that that turtle was killed just for a scene in a movie bothers me. I can't explain why.
Movies are make-believe. Movies have always been make-believe. You shouldn't be seeing real things killed in movies.
Totally.
That's our mindset.
Well, that's why as a kid, that's what I would think, right? Like even as kids, we know that none of that is real.
Right.
So I didn't know it was real. I didn't think it was real. I didn't realize it was real until much later.
Yeah.
I had no idea I was watching anything that was actually real.
Now if you're watching a documentary on the Discovery Channel of some, it would be a different story. But because it's a movie and we're so in tune with, this is make believe. This shouldn't be.
Right.
Yeah.
You feel like you're watching something you're not supposed to watch.
You're right in that it, Crystal. It's. I don't know. There's something about the combination of the way they did that, and we did kind of bring up the music already.
God, it's so weird. Every time they have some sort of violent scene, there's
Riz Ortolani, and they play this. There's something about that music with that pew pew in the background.
I love it.
I thought it was great, but it's very unsettling while you're watching them butcher a turtle. Something nobody I know has ever seen done before. I mean, I grew up around. I used to go hunting a lot, so I've cleaned pheasants. I've cleaned lots of fish. I've cleaned a duck. Butchered a chicken for my mother-in-law, but lived on farms. My grandparents were in farms and everything. And I don't know the process of, and I believe we've talked about this before, but the process of slaughtering cattle or hogs or whatever is gruesome as hell.
Yeah,
and just because we don't see it and we hide it away, and it's, for the most part, it's become a factory operation, and it's just boom, 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 and before they know it, anyway. So, but
and
I
think that people need to realize that too. If you're gonna eat meat, own it, own it, and know you're killing animals.
But I think for me, it's the same as with Chad. Is to me it was obvious, and I was older. I didn't see it the first time till probably 5 or 6 years ago or so. I knew about it. I hadn't seen it anywhere. I don't know. I don't think it was something that was on the. Was it on the video rental shelves? Is that where?
It was at some point.
Occasionally. Yeah.
I'm thinking I saw it on the shelf in the 80s, but I just, something about it. I said that just didn't appeal to me. The cover and the
maybe the name Cannibal Holocaust has got to be the most exploitive title in the history of
until you find out it's the most gruesome, terrible, horrible, all those adjectives a movie ever made. Then you're going, I'd like to see this just to understand what's going on. Not to glory in it. But the other thing that got me is, first there was the sort of the wanton way they killed things, like when they killed the Coatimundi and when they killed the turtle. They're playing that weird music, and the guy's like grinning and giggling almost or something. I can't remember, but it's just and then when they kill the when they kill the little wild pig, I think it's a feral pig or something that they kill. That's also, and then the monkey anyway. And then the first thing they do, it's like Crystal said, I don't understand. Were they always that terrible? Later on when he interviews people that knew this guy, they're saying he was a jerk pretty much. Yeah. And he always tried to go over the edge. But they are like, I think they would have been perfectly happy if all those villagers would have burned up with their huts. I mean,
absolutely. That's what I think they were trying. That's why I'm like, what the hell?
And then they go rape the girl, and it doesn't matter if the woman it's like they're on drugs or something.
It's like the idea that
gang raper, right?
They're in the jungle. It's like stripped away from civilization. They're showing their true selves. Yeah. And they're more animalistic than the actual natives who live there, who may look scary and they're little and they're covered in mud and everything else. But like Crystal points out, when a bunch of Westerners show up again, they don't immediately kill them, which would be a normal reaction. That they're actually okay people. You know, they have a different culture, but they're not inherently violent. But they got pushed too far, and that is kind of a cool thing. These guys are just doing worse and worse and worse things, and then there's a couple of reels missing. And then when we start up again, it's just like they're all around us. I mean, things went to hell real fast for these idiots, and it is a little cathartic, you know, watching these people get.
Well, and he shoots
it bad at all.
Yeah.
So the animals, I can almost rationalize, even though you don't usually see things that graphic, right? In that the food thing, but with the rape scenes, that stuff just was really. I mean, rape is such a terrible thing anyway. But the way that they did it, and the I don't know. To me, it just seemed more and more horrifying every time it came up. You know, first time we see the native with, and she was being punished for something, right?
For adultery.
The woman that he, for adultery. So he's like, that was weird too.
Yeah.
And
then the guy tries. This is the best part. The guy tries to justify it. He goes, "Well, if he hadn't killed her, they would have killed him." Yeah, okay, but he didn't have to kill her the way he did. He could have just bopped her over the head and killed her instead of doing all that stuff first.
The way they did it was very exploitive,
Absolutely.
and titillating. They were trying to shock the audience by doing.
It's also obvious that the native woman is not a native.
Not
right.
Yeah, just because you covered her with mud.
Yeah, I think she was the script supervisor or something.
Great day. Your script supervisor's like, hey, we got an opportunity for you today. It's like, oh, really? Yeah, okay, hold on. Don't get excited. Oof.
First, we're going to cover you from head to toe in mud.
I just want to say one thing about the filmmakers. I mean, I'll give them credit for this. You watch some of those Italian cannibal movies, and the cannibals are clearly Italians. They've got, like, you can see where their wristwatches used to be on the tan line and everything. I almost got you. They are clearly not natives. Yep. This one looks like they actually went as deep as they possibly could in the rainforest before their provisions gave out.
Well, they did hire local actors.
Right, because these locals look pretty darn local. And I got to give props to the folks there, because if you're dealing with people that are, you know, living, I don't know if the movie theater is exactly part of their culture. Make sure that you better have a good interpreter. You better have a damn good interpreter who can explain. This is when we take away the real machete and put the balsa wood one in.
So Joe Bob explained that they did hire all local actors, and they didn't go very far into the woods at all.
Oh, okay.
Like he said he had gone way further. Like they went to one section where the plane drops you off, but if you really want to get into where the tribes are, you take another plane up and go back down somewhere else. And they didn't do that. They just stopped it.
Good move.
Yeah. That was probably the
Well, it's interesting to me that they used to have, so on Shudder they have the film by itself. And they used to have the film with Joe Bob Briggs' commentary on The Last Drive-In. And then they also pulled the commentary out separate, all the hour-long pieces, so that if somebody wanted to, they could watch it by itself. But now the one that is the full boat thing, that's gone. I couldn't find that.
I couldn't find the movie with his commentary. I could find the movie and I could find his commentary, but I couldn't find them together, which I would have enjoyed. His commentary is great.
Yeah.
I watched that with my wife, and then without my wife, I watched the movie, which is a way I recommend that for most married couples, unless you're married to Crystal, in which case, you know.
Actually, I was saying that to my spouse. I was like, no, go upstairs. You don't want to watch this movie. And they're like, what? And I was like, it's real animal killings. Okay, bye.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the director, and this is to me, there's such big parallels between this and Blair Witch Project in that they had this whole campaign about it being real, right?
Yeah.
And Deodato even Deodato to the point of having contracts that these people had to like disappear and not come up for interviews for a year. And so it gets shown to the theaters, and Italian authorities go, wait a minute, this is
The snuff film.
This is a snuff film, so we're arresting you for cruelty and whatever, and then now we're arresting you for murder. Now he's freaking out and trying to get somebody to show up and go, no, we're dead. It was all fake. Or I mean, we're alive. It's all fake. So
they should have stayed hidden and held him up for some money. That was the legend that happened. That supposedly the story was that Lamberto Bava Mario Bava's son worked on this film, and that he had told somebody that the woman who was impaled was something that they just found. They were just like getting a set, and they found this real body impaled, and they just quietly incorporated it into the movie. And that was the legend went around, and absolutely none of that is true, including the part about Lamberto Bava working on the movie. He did. His name was associated with it, but he didn't work on it. But when I watched that, I was like, okay, that really looks real. And I've watched that shot in slow motion. This is how obsessed I got with it. And I think I figured out, because I'm watching, I'm like, I don't think I could have done this. I didn't think the explanation made sense. She's sitting on a bicycle seat and she's got a balsa wood thing sticking out of her mouth. I'm like, I'm trying to imagine doing that without giving it away. But here's the thing. Here's why it works. And it's part of the brilliance of the film. It's a handheld camera. They're circling around her, and it's flat. The stock footage is like flashing in and out and everything. It's not so, because there's no way that you could sit on a bicycle seat with your head back and a balsa wood thing and not be moving. It's like whenever you see actors pretending to be in a wax museum, it totally gives it away. But the handheld camera, the motion of the camera, the bad footage, the graininess, totally makes it work.
But if you look, like, see how her legs are even like more pulled up. That is more like she's sitting down. You could tell because her legs wouldn't be quite so like bent up in a way.
After he explains it, it's
brilliant.
Like he can tell people are like not believing him, and he goes, "Oh, she could sit really still." She was really good at being still.
She was very mellow, and
well, I mean,
that's a gruesome scene, because when you first see that, you go, "How can that be?" And remember, it's 1980. It's not. And I think also, if you look at it now without being shocked and having the moving camera, you can tell that the stake is not quite lined up either.
It's not. You can look at it. And do you know how hard it would actually be to get that steak up someone's vajayjay up actually through their mouth?
I have no idea, Crystal.
That would be very difficult. That would be very difficult. Like, to actually
for it.
Chad, how about you? Do you have any idea how hard?
I think these people are way too short to have gotten her up there on the top of that.
Yeah.
I bet Vlad the Impaler could have figured it out.
But this was one of those scenes when I first watched it that I was just appalled by. I mean, I knew it was fake, but at the same time, I was like, man, I'm just not a big fan of cruelty in general. Right. And the spirit of this whole movie is just cruel.
But that scene, take away the shock of the imagery, and that scene is actually really cool because it totally tells you a lot about, it's got the best social commentary where they're looking at it and he's like, oh, this is so cool. And like, hey, we're on camera. He's like, oh, okay. Then he suddenly, oh my God. How awful! What could have caused him to do this? And the girl is like looking daggers at him, like,
Well, he has sex with her, and that is really one of the weirdest sex scenes I've ever seen. But I think it goes along with what you said about them, like becoming totally wild or something. That was sort of the idea behind some of this stuff. But
they kind of said something about that at the beginning, or one of the executives said, what was that guy's name, Alan or something? Well, you know how Alan's known for doing stupid stuff to get a shot. So they tried to set that up, that his personality was kind of on the edge a little bit anyway, so that it didn't take much to make him finally snap and just start acting like idiots.
Let's take a look at some of these. Bill, thanks so much for getting these up. Some of these posters. Sure. So that's more of a, I don't know, almost a comic book version, right? Yeah. But
A lot of posters.
You know, that's you can't. These posters cannot. You know, we're always watching stuff or reading taglines where we go, that didn't happen. You know, what's that about? Or the poster's like, well, that didn't happen. That's not in the movie. They're all pretty much in the movie, right?
This is not a movie where.
And this here, they put this on the box.
Yeah, on the box. Put that in the kids section.
Well, that is the most iconic image of the whole movie.
It is.
Right.
It is.
This is one of those movies where they had a hard time making the box cover, not because they didn't have anything to put there, but because there wasn't a whole lot they would be allowed to put there, at least back in the day.
Yeah.
Well, they dragged, I guess her character's name was Faye, but Francesca Ciardi gets dragged back under, I don't know, this little overhang they got, and they chop her head off. Anyway.
Well, her death scene was confusing. Like I couldn't figure out when she actually died because she was being raped, and then all of a sudden she's just like, bleh.
Her head's gone.
And then they're like, and then
I saw that one guy kind of runs around to the back, and I was looking for something that looked like a decapitation, but he just comes running out with her head. So I don't know, maybe they.
Yeah. Of course, the fact that they're filming any of this, if I were the cameraman, anything
I know it's
like this, the only thing you would see if I were still filming is trees going by me as I was running as fast as I can.
No, like what on earth? Why were they there filming? Okay, well, of course it was for the movie, but once the dude's wanker got chopped off, why would anyone be around? Why would anyone be around? Why would they still have the cameras? They had a flare gun. I would run my ass off and like set that forest on fire.
I'd shoot myself in the head with the flare gun is what I do. When wankers start getting ripped off, I make myself scarce. That's the life philosophy that's gotten me this far, and I intend to stick with it.
So I don't know what country this is from.
Boy.
Something with a different alphabet. Maybe
that's kind
Polish,
of offensive
Eastern European,
to those people.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's I saw that particular image a lot, the gut eating stuff. Yeah.
No, just his face.
Well,
it is. He's mad. Someone else got the good stuff. He got the guts. How good could that possibly taste?
Some people like that.
And
you ever had chitlings?
Yes, and they're awful.
Yeah.
I mean, they taste better than they smell, but they're awful.
Now you know why that guy's so mad.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not even cooked chicken.
And
no hot
here's
sauce.
the German poster.
No, that should be subtle. Yeah, that's our Germans. Yay. There you
Naked
go.
and mangled.
You got bloody things coming through her mouth and her breasts and all over, but make sure that the JJ is covered.
Well, sure.
With somebody's
covered with
somebody else's head, right? That's it. Yeah.
Boy, does that not illustrate the whole hypocrisy? We can't show a part of the human body. But here's a part that should be inside the human body. We'll cover that up. Yeah. Okay.
So
there's the man,
Deodato. So you got some stuff here, Bill. What's that's him on set? Is that this movie?
That's some stuff that's behind the scenes. I couldn't find a lot of behind the scenes stuff from Cannibal Holocaust, surprisingly. This is his masterpiece. He's made some interesting films. Nothing that approaches this though. And I think this movie actually had some pretty powerful people saying good things about it.
Sergio Leone.
Yeah, thought it was brilliant. And
but you're going to have the whole world after you.
Yeah, and he was right about that. He was right. I don't know that he has expressed a lot of regret about this movie. Mm-hmm. He regrets making it. He's sorry about the animals. All the stories, and I wasn't there, but all the stories from behind the scenes do not paint a very positive picture of him.
Well, really, the guy, I think it's. Oh, well, go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, what was all that about?
That he was pretty rough on the people. Not all the folks got paid. The conditions were brutal. He didn't care. The actress did not want to strip for one scene. He basically took her aside and screamed at her until she agreed to. I mean. It was a different time when you could get away with abusing people and everything, and it just sounds like it was a very unpleasant experience that they probably. I don't know if everyone knew what they were getting into when they got into this.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was Carl Yorke who played Alan said after we got I think, is he the one that got put in just like at last minute, didn't know the script or what it was about or anything, and once the movie started, he started thinking that they were going to probably kill him as part of the movie,
which is a great plot for a movie. Someone should make a movie about a bunch of people making a movie about cannibals in the 1980s and things go horribly wrong. This one I haven't actually seen, and I'd like to see it because it's got Michael Berryman, one of my favorite actors, and it's not nearly. It was much more recent, cut and run. It takes place in the jungle, and there's at least one scene where a guy gets torn in half by trees that the old stake you to two trees that are bent down.
Okay.
Yeah. But people who have seen it say it's very reserved compared. Everything that he's made since gets compared to Cannibal Holocaust, and they all seem kind of quiet compared to that. House at the Edge of the Park is probably one of the rougher ones that he made, and that's more of a Last House on the Left. Yeah, that's a pretty good film. I mean, of its type. I'm not a big fan of torture porn, home invasion stuff, like you're saying, Chad. But if you like that kind of thing, it's well done. It's got some of the same people.
That's 1980 for that.
Oh, well.
Cut and Run says 1985. I thought it was later too.
I thought so too. But then 1985. Okay, so Cannibal Holocaust was made in 80, but it came out in 85. So he had time.
In the U.S. Yeah. So we also have what was another one you had? This. Already had that one.
Oh, jeez.
Oh my gosh, I think I saw this movie. I think I saw this movie. That looks so familiar.
Who are the Barbarian Brothers? Are they like a wrestling
team? They were two brother weightlifters.
Okay.
Who were kind of popular, when Arnold was out. And these guys make Arnold look like Laurence Olivier. They cannot act at all.
Yeah, I saw this. Not good.
That looks super familiar to me.
They were supposed to be barbarians, but they talk like this.
Yeah, yo.
Yeah, hey.
Yonder lies the castle of my father.
Yeah. We got a string.
And then,
oh my god.
Well, the other movie that he made, he also made a movie called Jungle Holocaust, but this was like some kind of a collection that we're showing here.
Yeah, this is before Cannibal Holocaust, and it's more of a typical Italian cannibal movie. It's well made. He's a better filmmaker than Umberto Lenzi, but it's similar kind of thing. White guy gets lost in the jungle, adopted by the natives. Cannibals show up, and animals get tortured. There's no getting around that.
Was that also real animals, or was that?
Yeah, it's always they're not gonna pay money to make a fake crocodile when the folks out there are perfectly happy to skin one alive on the camera.
So then, what makes Cannibal Holocaust so controversial compared to, say, this movie?
It's better made. It lingers. The fact that it's a better film than a lot of these others is what It's like why is Caligula more notorious than any other porn movie? It's just better made with real actors and.
Well, and most of the found footage part of it has the feel of a no script thing, like it really is. I mean, it doesn't feel like they're following a script. If they are, it's damn loose. Like they're just ad-libbing, shouting stuff over and over again sometimes, and which on one hand seems a little cheesy, but on the other hand is even more disturbing as they kind of ramp up.
And I think, Crystal, a lot of it is there's still rumors. This is still the film that people talk about as being real. That although he was found innocent of actually having killed his actors, there's still this, that's the movie where people really died. That's the movie where they really, it's real stuff. It's like, So I think that notoriety, even though not deserved, has sort of kept it going.
Interesting.
Well, let's take a look at our American lead, Robert Kerman.
Is that the guy that was the porn star?
Yep, that's him.
I think he did a great job.
He was a good actor. He was a legit actor who he got into porn. A lot of actors back in the 70s got into porn because they were starving. And they figured, I'll make this movie. It'll play in 42nd Street. They'll cut up all the things into guitar picks, and no one will ever know. And what they didn't realize was that the video era was coming down in just a few years, and everyone would know. And once you made a few porn films, you were a porn actor. It didn't matter that you studied with Strasberg. You were a porn actor. And that this guy was unfortunately pretty much typecast for the rest of his life.
Yeah, and he had I saw some kind of a comment where he said it was too easy and he got lazy.
Yeah,
you didn't have to work very hard. But he was also, because he was a decent actor, they said they put him in the kind of porn films in the 70s that actually had stories, scripts.
Like Debbie Does Dallas.
Like Debbie
Does
Dallas.
That's what he said.
Yes. So he it's interesting if you look at his filmography, because interspersed with porn films are episodes of like Simon and Simon and Hunter and what else did I see in there? I think Cagney and Lacey. I think he did an episode. And then he's in Night of the Creeps, and then the movie makes after that is The Adventures of Rick Quick, Private Dick. So and you can tell, right? And he has a part in No Way Out, the Costner film with Sean Young, and then finally comes back in Spider-Man. It's interesting because they said he quit doing porn films like in the late 80s, but there's all this stuff that came out after that. Well, maybe not. It's all in the late 80s.
Those people never threw away footage either. They recycled footage and stuff.
Exactly. I think they cut pieces together to make well, they're not portmanteaus.
Yeah.
So anyway,
yeah, I saw
it's too bad. It's too bad because I think he could have been
now,
decent.
He doesn't look much like a porn actor. He doesn't really look like a porn star. But, he just looks.
He's got the mustache.
Yeah, right. But there's a very good website out there called the Rialto Report, where they try to find survivors of the golden age of adult films and interview them, and he was one of the ones they got before he passed away. And it was a little depressing because he really feels that he made a lot of mistakes, that he had the potential to have a good career, and he took some of these shortcuts, and he was never able to get away from them. And this was a film he felt worse about this than he did about the porn movies. Although he made this was not his only cannibal movie. He's in a few others as well. So, I mean, I guess he wasn't that upset by it. But I don't think it was a fun experience filming.
Well, we're going to have to wind this up here. Let me check out. Well, it's easy to talk about this one because there's so much bizarre stuff. Francesca Ciardi, who, same thing. I thought
she looked like she was acting.
Right?
Like she looks genuinely horrified that there's a tarantula on her shoulder. And I just want to say, if there was a tarantula on my shoulder, her expression is exactly the one I would have, except even less manly on my face. It would be, Oof.
That's where I draw my nope.
A few credits in the 80s, and then a couple later, and that's it.
Are you getting skeeved out over there?
Yes, spiders. I told you, spiders. No.
I'm telling you, you
guys
should not.
Script ideas.
You're just giving Bill ammo here for future.
So I don't know if we need to show. This is kind of the crew. So we've got Francesca Ciardi, and there's Carl Yorke, and this guy. The guy on the left is Tomaso. I forget what his name was.
But here he's good in bed. His ex-girlfriend says
Luca Barbareschi.
What? Are you serious?
Well, no. In the film, when they're interviewing the girl with the little boy, I think that's.
Oh yes. Okay, yeah. I was like, okay.
Bill knows way too much about these people.
The blonde is Perry Pirkanen, Jack Anders, right? And this is the only film he made.
Really?
Well, he's the one that got the choppy.
Well.
It probably was a bad experience for him as well, and he was like, I don't ever want to make another movie. This is horrible.
Well, I'm wrong. I swear I looked it up before. He's in Cannibal Holocaust. He's a gravedigger in City of the Living Dead.
City of the Living Dead. That's it. Yeah.
And that's it. That's pretty much it. I swear I looked him up and there was only one film, but it must have been one of the other ones. Okay.
There's a cat grabbing my foot. Stop. Cease. Evil goblin.
All right.
Let's see. So we've also got
Evil.
I thought Chaco was kind of a decent actor too.
Yeah.
Salvatore
the guide.
Yeah. And
except for that terrible accent they gave him, was like Frito Bandito. We need more ammunition for our guns. But then he was pretty good in the all of them were. This is a well-made movie. And that's the shocking thing. When I first watched it, I thought it was going to just be a piece of gory crap. And then the music comes on. I'm like, well, that's really counterintuitive. That music is cool and very. I could hum this song. The theme song to Cannibal Holocaust is not something I expected to be a hummable little ditty. And then the photography is sharp. I mean, everything is well made. I think again, Crystal, that's why it's so notorious, is that it's.
So I think that the picture there at the top was that like the little shrine they made of all their leftovers from them, the camera and the skull and a bunch of other stuff.
Which is a cool shot when they show that, and then they flash back to the living people.
To the people's, the people's faces. That's what,
and that this picture of the skull in the middle is very disturbing with all the hair on it. Really is what's kind of.
Oh, the
creepy.
Maggots don't help me out either. Yeah.
And then the bottom shot, that was supposedly when they get old and ready to die, they just go off and sit down and start rotting, I guess, or animals come and eat them. She was in bad shape, but she was still alive.
Yeah. There's a missing sequence with Piranha. There's only I didn't get it, but there's a couple of still shots, and it just didn't work because the underwater camera broke. And also, when they lift them up and they had the fish attached to them, these plastic fish, they just look stupid. So they ditched that. It's a cool idea. I mean, piranha are just like so great, but there's a turtle.
Yeah, he's getting ready to hack the turtles. Yeah. And then that one we've already looked at. I don't know. We got any closing comments on this? Anybody? I would say this thing. I've only watched it twice, and I would say it makes me, kind of sick to my stomach when I watch it. Both the animal, the visceralness, I guess, of the animal butchering, and also the way the women are treated on this, rapes, gang rapes, etc. So I, if you haven't seen this, I'd think twice about it.
I think
if you're like me and you got to check it out just to be, because you haven't heard about it.
I think for lots of people, that's
you have to be in a certain mindset to watch it.
Right.
Don't just go in thinking, oh, this is another Friday night. I'm just going to watch me a scary horror movie.
If you're easily offended, or even if you're just moderately easily offended, you should think twice about it, or do a little research. Go on YouTube, read a few reviews, look at a few things, and decide if this is for you. And if this is just going to make you feel bad about things, that's not what movies are for. So, I don't think anyone should ever make a movie like this again.
No.
But it has been made. Not watching it or banning it or anything is not going to bring that turtle back to life. Right. So, we have to take these things for what they are. They exist, and they have a place in the history of film. And I think if you had to make a list of the top 10 most important horror films ever made, I think it'd be awfully hard to not put this on that list.
Well, it has that position as the kind of the first found footage too, that really
right.
Yeah. Well, there's another found footage film, but it wasn't as well done, like The Connection or something. I think it's called The Connection in 1960.
Yeah, that was from like the 60s. Yeah, but I haven't. It's not a horror film.
But it's not a horror. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is the first
one I remember
like really recognized one.
Right.
Is Man Bites Dog? Is it kind of a
right? And there was the last broadcast. I mean, this movie was not meant to start a genre. This was really a parody or a commentary on the Mondo films of the 1960s and 70s. The Mondo, Carne, Mondo, all this stuff and everything that were supposedly mockumentaries. They were supposed to be real documentaries, but they were just excuses to put stuff on the screen that you hadn't seen before, and they could get away without getting a triple X rating by saying, "Oh no, we're just showing you what it's like to be in Brazil." Or,
So we do have. I think that's it for Cannibal Holocaust, but you can watch it on Shudder. I think is the only place it is right now.
Watch
and I believe there are Blu-rays.
If you're going to watch it, watch the Joe Bob version too.
If you can get that,
yeah.
Joe Bob makes everything better.
Yeah. That kind of gives you a spoonful of sugar to
yes.
medicine go down.
Yes. We do have some feedback as we try to catch up. This is from episode 170, Nightmare on Elm Street. And Nick Gadman, our buddy from the UK, who guest hosted on Classic Era, as we did the Japanese film he picked, Onibaba.
Oh, good pick, Nick.
Great film.
Nick says on Nightmare on Elm Street, what a great episode, guys. Thanks for picking this one. It's been years since I saw any of those films, but I've watched the documentary Never Sleep Again about 4 times since it came out. If any of you haven't seen it yet, I would strongly recommend it. I think Jeff Mohr brought up a great point about standards and practices during the shooting of the bath scene, and I'm glad to hear everyone on staff behave themselves. It's hard to watch the bonus content on the Alien quadrilogy when Sigourney talks about filming the scenes in the loader. She makes jokes and shrugs off the behavior of the guys behind her in the suit, but she was clearly subject to improper behavior for hours every day. And Ellen Burstyn's physical abuse at the hands of Friedkin also makes you glad that things have moved forward for the better.
Wow.
Respect to the Nightmare on Elm Street crew. So thanks, Nick. I mean, I don't know if it's still out there, but there was a period where it seemed like it was a thing for directors to mistreat people to get something out of them.
Oh yeah.
And I'll always remember reading about Dustin Hoffman and Laurence Olivier, and I think is it the Marathon Man?
Yeah.
Where he's torturing him.
Yeah.
He's like the Nazi doctor. And Dustin Hoffman went in a room and screamed for hours to get his voice hoarse to sound like he'd been screaming for hours. And Laurence Olivier said something to him like, "My dear boy, wouldn't acting be a little easier?"
I love it. But he wants that realism. I can't fault him for
understand.
that. I mean, he's going to do that to himself. If someone wants to do it to themselves, let them have their process, whatever.
So thanks again, Nick. Always appreciate your insights. And here's one from K. Wayne Thornley that says, I just watched the documentary on Shudder about Nightmare on Elm Street 2. It's pretty interesting. And we did cover that on Gruesome Magazine.
Screenplay?
About Mark Patton and how that film played out. That's definitely worth a watch. And this one is my favorite. This one's from Nancy Ellen, who is the Black Saint's sister.
Hey, Nancy.
Hey, Nancy.
And she just said, very cool. So
very
cool. We love you, Nancy, and appreciate you listening.
Yeah.
So much.
Thank you.
All right. And Santos is the reason I'm doing this. He inspired me to get started doing reviews and things, and look where I am. So
Santos and Doc were just so influential, and I still owe Doc a lot.
Doc too. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Doc didn't say shut up when I pushed my way onto 80s for Motel Hell. And then when Chad and I said we want to start one called Classic Era or whatever, 60s. All right. That's it, Gru Believers. That's it for this episode. But every 2 weeks, we'll be focusing on specific film released between 1980 and 1989. Next up, we tackle one chosen by Crystal. Crystal?
We're going to do Dead Ringers. Yay.
Cronenberg. Cool. And that one's on Amazon if you want to catch that before we talk about it. So make sure you join us for that one.
Probably seen that one. Y'all have all seen it, right?
I saw it, but I haven't seen it for a while.
Oh, we've seen it.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah,
it has been a while.
There's plenty of ways to stay in touch. And hey, Gruesome Magazine's YouTube channel. Click the like, click the subscribe, hit the alerts, please. We would.
I don't ever know where.
Really appreciate that.
Ring that bell.
If you don't like the way we look, you can still listen through YouTube without looking at us.
You're missing some good stuff, though.
Yeah.
Or you can send us emails.
Thanks, Bill.
Gruesome Magazine. What was that, Bill? I talked right over you. I'm on.
No. I was just saying if you don't see us in person, you're missing some good stuff. And of course, by that I meant Chad.
Yeah, and Chad's like, thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
You're the best.
And let's not forget Crystal.
Yeah, Crystal, she's.
I love how y'all say it. No.
Say what?
In my sweater, I'm like a grandma. I'm like,
oh yeah, yes, you look just like my grandma.
I thought she was getting ready to tell us to get out of her yard, and now she's going to keep our kickball landed in it.
That would be so awesome.
If my grandma looked like me, all my friends would have hung out at my grandma's house. Are you kidding?
You want a piece of candy?
You want some apple pie? That's the most
ribbon candy. Would you like some ice cream? Coffee ice cream.
Ribbon candy.
Oh, Grandma, no.
Here, lean over in this stove and see if you can.
Oh, yikes.
All right.
Now he's turning me into a witch. See that?
Yeah,
See that?
he did.
Well, I'm all fattened up for you, so. Plenty of ways to stay in touch. Please send feedback to
And she's gone.
And check out our Facebook page at Gruesome Magazine, DOH podcast Facebook group. There's lots of activity there. You can post there as well. So yeah, catch us again here in 2 weeks for another great horror movie of the 1980s, as only decades of horror can do it.
Jeff, you be Hansel. Bill, you be Gretel.
Say goodnight, girl.
I'm all right with that.
Chad will be the breadcrumbs, I guess.
Yeah.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Good night. Oh my God. Good night.
Gruesome Magazine.